Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's stream. Oh boy, we made it. We're only, 5 minutes late, give or take. Let me just put a quick message in the Discord for everybody. You have to excuse me clearing my throat for the first bit of the stream as well. That's the wrong keyboard. I'll tell you the story in a second as to why we are starting late. It's a really fun story. It's called Mark Lost Track of Time and Forgot That the Stream Was Starting. That's a really good title, I think. Very catchy. Let me just post this. There we go. OpenTTD Discord now knows that I am live, and I don't think I need to do it in the the M4J Discord because everyone is here. Good evening, George. Good evening, Frank. Good evening, everyone else in the chat. There's quite a few people by the looks of things, which is awesome news. Yeah, slight spoiler in the title, I admit. Basically, for those of you in the know, XVI, video editing, they're the kind of keywords that I'll be using a lot during this story. So the XVI podcast returned last week. Hopefully you've all seen it. It's very good. I'm very proud of it. There's a couple of nice stories in there from myself, Ben and Alex. A couple of not so nice stories as well, but it kind of tells you the gritty reality of what we were talking about in that podcast. But since the podcast is back now, I spend quite a lot of time editing not just the podcast but other XVI related content. And I like to experiment. I don't get the chance to do that very often. Shall I transfer over into the game actually so you guys can see what I'm seeing rather than the black screen? Just realised that intro isn't as long as I wanted it to be. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I like to experiment in the XVI videos because I don't really get the chance to do that often in my own content. And part of that experimentation is the whole avatar lighting up thing that you see in the XVI podcast. Excuse me, which sounds very easy in theory, but it can be quite challenging. So the simple way to do it is you go into After Effects and you get the audio to dictate the opacity of the avatars. So I have to do it 3 times if there's 3 guests on a podcast, or twice if there's only 2 people. You know, however many people there are is how many times I have to go through that process. And it's normally a simple case of you put the audio into the After Effects, you convert it into keyframes, and then you directly link the audio volume to the opacity of the avatar images, and then you do a little bit of scripting trickery and it makes it light up or go semi-transparent when no one's talking. Sounds good, right? Sounds pretty quick and pretty simple when it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't tell you why it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And that's the problem I had yesterday. I had a video that I was trying to convert, because at the moment we're recording the podcast in batches, and then I'm editing all of those batches, and then those batches will get uploaded once a week. So we're changing the way that we're recording it so that it takes up less time overall, which is an idea that I had. The guys were happy with me doing that, so that's what we're doing now. So I'm going through and converting a lot of files simultaneously, and the idea is I get them all queued up to export, and then I export them all in one go. But if one doesn't work for whatever reason, it holds me back on exporting all of them. So I was up till 5 AM this morning trying to fix a problem, and it had to be my avatar that wasn't lighting up. If it was one of the other guys, then I mean, I'd still have spent just as much time getting it to work, but it's important for mine to work the most because I'm the host. So I appear in every podcast. Whereas, you know, if episode 15 was causing me some problems and it was one of the guests, then I could probably put that one on ice for the time being and work on episode 16. But because it was my avatar that was playing up, there's a good chance that it would have done the same thing in episode 16. So I spent the best part of 4 hours last night trying to fix it, which meant I was up till 5, which meant I slept in late today, which meant a lot of the work that I was meant to do today I didn't get done. So I was rushing through doing all that pixel art and all that kind of good stuff, and then I looked at the clock and realized it was 6 and I hadn't eaten, so I had to go downstairs and eat, and then some other things came up, and now it's 10 past 7 and we finally started with the stream. So that's the basic reasoning as to why we're starting late. I'm a man who likes to manage his time carefully, but at the same time is very bad at implementing strategies to do with time management. So it's something, you know, it's kind of my own fault in many respects, but at the same time wasn't really expecting After Effects to play up quite the way it did. But the good news is I got the avatar working, so when the podcast episode goes out, we'll have a lovely lighting up avatar of my face. Sounds very vain when you say it like that, but truth be told, it's that kind of industry that we're working in right now. So, what are we doing tonight? The Southern Connections is the name of this week's stream, and we're going to be building the southern connection between Bahecity and Puntford, which is right down in the southeast corner of the map. Let me get the plans up as well so I can actually see where I'm building. As you can see up here in the corner, actually you can't see up here in the corner because my logo covers most of it, but I've still got the trains up here open. I'm still working on the West Winds and also Guard City Connect. That's going to be happening in the background still. The money issue isn't as big a deal as it was. You can kind of see, if I move the finances into the center here, you can kind of see the amount does still go down each month. The problem is, oh sorry, each year. I keep thinking these are months, these are years. The problem is that the game is crashing still. So I still can't leave the game running overnight, for example, because it might crash during that time. So we will have to come up with a solution for that. The good news is when it crashes, it does actually tell you which line and which file the crash takes place in. What I haven't done yet is actually opened up, I've forgotten the name of the program now, but where you can actually see the source code of the game. Just have a look at what line of code it actually is, excuse me, that's causing the crash. You'll hear me have hiccups most likely for like the first 20 minutes or so of the stream. I ate very quickly just now, so you all know what that means. So yeah, Southern Connections. We're going to be building the Southern Connection down this way. We electrified it with the third rail last week. It was originally overhead electrification. I'm also considering some of the services that we planned out last time. Pretty much all of them that went from Guard City to Bahecity terminated at Bahecity Central, and I think I'm going to keep those. But some of the others, like the Bahecity Commuter Belt, I might have some of the trains actually terminate up here at Bahecity Fort Dronford, and then have another one from the south that terminates here at Rinfingley Airport, or maybe up as far as Hardham, and then use like the semi-fast services that go all the way through to Bahecity Central as like shuttles that takes people in and out of the city centre. Because this station is still a little too small for my liking, and I could add some extra platforms to the side, but I think that's kind of prolonging the problem rather than actually solving it. I could also add some extra platforms in the centre here. I can't remember why I didn't build these. And I can actually split. I've got to leave some platforms for high-speed trains, so it'd probably be these ones here, and then these middle platforms I could split in half. That's an idea. That's what it used to do as well, so we'll have to see about that. Yeah, let's get building, shall we? So the first thing we're going to do is follow this route all the way down to the coast, which is over here somewhere by the looks of things. So at some point this route is also going to get rebuilt, but for now I'm mainly going to focus on just building the new route, because I think that's best. Is Bahecity Commuter franchise like West Midlands Railway running commuter services into Birmingham? Well, the Bahecity Commuter Belt isn't a franchise, it's a route. It's important to distinguish those two things. The franchise itself, A, doesn't exist yet, and B, doesn't have a name. So we'll have to come up with that at some point. Ideas are welcome for that. Yeah, hang on. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to build a junction here whilst I'm talking, and we all know how that goes. I think I'm just going to do it this way. Mind you, I don't want to do it like that. I want to grade separate as much of this as possible because it's a main route. What about adding dive unders at Bahecity to prevent conflicting moves? That's an idea. That's a good idea. I'll have to check that there aren't road tunnels underneath the station. I don't think there are. I don't remember seeing any just now. But yeah, I like that idea. So if there's like freight trains that do run through the centre of Bahecity, they can do so without impeding other trains. This is going to be such a bad junction. This is just going to be a single direction junction, by the way. That can't go that side. That has to go this side. Actually, this is really bad. So hang on. Let me sort of work through this. So that's going to go like that. Suppose what we could do here is have this go there, and we'll build like a little plateau. So now this has enough room to bridge. Whoops, bridge over. I was thinking of terminating trains going back out. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, so a bit like what we built over at Dinpool. Yeah, I like that idea. I do like that idea. So that a bit like what they have at St Pancras International as well for the javelins. They dive under the Eurostar lines and then join up with them. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll look at doing that. It might be flyovers rather than dive unders. I'm just thinking about the space we'll have available. But yeah, for sure we'll do that. That's good thinking. Okay, so this is going to go like this, and then the exit. Whoopsie doodle. Keep clicking the wrong damn thing. The exit to this tunnel is going to go here. Like that. We'll bulldoze this, whatever this was. So let me think. Slow line joins up with slow lines, fast line joins up with fast line. That one goes off there, and then that one continues straight on. Good stuff. You can, oh for goodness sake. The one thing about having a big monitor and a small cursor is you always click on the wrong sodding thing. There, 4 tracks. So the junction heading east from Bahecity, it'll probably branch off here. Let me just follow this. It might even come from straight up here and run down, but then there's this big mountain to take care of. So I think I like the idea of it following this. Maybe here. Like turn this into a junction. Yeah, I built these stupid bi-directional things here, didn't I? I'm not sure I like that. This is all going to get rebuilt anyway, so it's not a massive issue. But we might turn Rinfingley Market into a junction station, and then the new line will come straight down and connect up with the coastal route. Mind you, the coastal route... Yeah, okay, so the coastal route turns inland here briefly, and that will come down and join it. Oh, I did like the idea of it going via Tundingston, though. Because Puntford is here. And I do remember saying that the main line wasn't going to go to there. I think we might be rebuilding or replanning out this route. Because I really liked the idea of it running along the coast. So I think we'll be doing that. Anyway, the plan was to only go part way along, but if it's looking like we're going to get it done, then we'll go all the way. And I think at Brougham here, we'll turn back inwards and then come up this way and join up with Hendington. And we might end up building the Bahecity line separately. And then having them join up at that junction. That might work better. In the meantime though, let's build this. Let's get rid of these bridges. So the Discord's been up for a week now. Not many people have used it, I must admit, but we've had some conversation on there, which has been good. And I kind of want to avoid the idea of it just being the same people going backwards and forwards, you know, pitching an idea, accept, reject. If it's rejected, going back and reworking the idea and then pitching it again. Because that's what's been happening a lot, and that's not what the Discord was set up for. The Discord's mainly set up for people who are playing their own versions, whether it's a network they've built from scratch or whether they've downloaded the M4J network and have edited it. It's mainly for posting screenshots and videos of that, because I'm really interested in seeing what other people are doing with the network. Of course, people can pitch ideas still. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's the usual thing of moderation, doing it in moderation, which is very easy to say, but yeah. Beyond that, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, the maps and other help with the second series, the sub-series. The reaction to that originally was good, but things have died down a little bit now, because I've actually been wanting to record episodes for that and I've not been able to, because I want to have everything in place first so that I know what I'm working with before I start recording. So that's kind of been held up for various reasons. So I'm still waiting to hear back on that from a couple of people. It's kind of one of these things where if you're going to commit to it, then you need to commit to it. You can't just say, yeah, I'll do that, and then disappear for days or weeks at a time. Because in terms of, you know, video production, you work on a schedule and you try and get things done as quick as possible, and if something holds you up, it can get very frustrating very quickly. So hopefully that gets going again soon. I'm just thinking here, I kind of want the slow lines, so I want the fast lines to be on the coastal side and the slow lines to be on the land side. So I think here I'm going to build a small like crossover to get that going. I'll be talking about the latest rail news a little bit later on as well. Usual thing of try and keep politics out of the chat for now, mainly because a bit of the news involves politics, so I might as well save it all up for then. That's kind of what I was getting at, George. Like, if you feel like you can't do it, then now's the best time to say, because if we're, you know, you think how many services there are. I don't think I'll be doing every service on the map. I'll try and do a representation of most franchises. So the GWR was first, the Great Eastern will be the second video, then maybe Great Northern, and then West Winds, things like that. So consistency is key. So if the first map maker then can't work on the rest of the series, I'd rather know now so I can get a different map maker in for the first episode. It's all about juggling work commitments, you know, which is something we talk a lot about in the XVR podcast, about how uni doesn't necessarily set you up for future employment, but one of the things it does kind of teach you is that you will get unexpected things that you have to do. Well, I prefer them to be custom made. So like episode 8 of this series, each of those maps was made specially for the service that it was representing. So I didn't do a route, in fact I think I did for Great Eastern and Great Western, is I made route overviews, but then I went back and remade the service maps from scratch to make them more accurate. Because in that case, for each service I followed the map, the actual network map, took the screenshot, followed the track, you know, made it all as accurate as possible. That's kind of what I was looking for this sub-series as well, and I was really avoiding the idea of having to do it all myself. I like the idea of community projects. Plus, it's this thing now of I don't have the time to do all these things that I want to do with the channel, so I'm trying to look at ways of saving time as much as possible, and that was one of them, was, you know, have some help creating maps. The rest of the series I can pretty much take care of. It's just the maps. Thinking of the tracing from the M4J network for the services. What, you mean take a screenshot and trace it from that? I mean, that works. That's what I did, as I say, for the maps that I created. But again, the franchise maps have to be accurate to begin with, and then the service maps have to be even more accurate and almost like a zoomed in version. Because at the end of the day, most of my videos are, I think, 1920 by 1080 resolution, so the maps have to be that resolution as well to fit. So you can't just do them in random resolutions. You know, they have to be consistent, and each map has to be made in the same resolution as the previous one, with as little white space as possible, or as little dead space as possible. It has to be done right, is what I'm getting at. It has to be done right. You can't just half-ass it, and you certainly can't just produce something and say, yeah, you go, it's done, because if it's not right, it's not right. And also, don't be offended if I say it's not what I'm looking for. Because it's kind of like if someone commissions you to do something and then you do it completely differently to how they asked you to do it, they have every right to tell you that. Trust me. Alright, let's build some spectacular bridges here. What have we got? Some suspension bridges would look nice. Whoops. Keep clicking on the wrong sodding thing. And then we'll have some modern looking ones. Like so. So as I say, if you feel like you can't do all of the maps in one go, then now's the best time to say. Because yeah, in a couple of weeks, if I've not heard anything, I will start asking where the maps are. And I won't be happy if I have to scrap weeks of hard work. I'm still trying to think of ways that I can get the voiceovers done. So I think that'll be the final piece of the puzzle. Okay. If you can't do all of them, then it's probably best if you don't do any of them. As I say, it's all about consistency. Which is unfortunate, but it's just one of those things, I'm afraid. Okay, let's keep going along here. So the next town is Carnfield. So I think at some point on the west coast we have this as well, where the slow lines kind of deviate and go round this side. But I'm not really sure where we could do that. Maybe we can't do that, which sucks. It'd be nice to be able to do it, but oh well. So we'll start talking about some rail news in a second. Like I said, there's some interesting developments, and there's some things that I find pretty farcical myself. I'm sure you can work out which is which, subject-wise. Let's just say there's one to do with a train operator perhaps losing their franchise, which is ridiculous, and there's another one to do with new trains, which I think is also ridiculous. But then there's some really cool stuff like the possibility of Thales and Eurostar merging. I think that's actually an interesting idea. As long as I kind of think it would work well if they merged but kept the same brand names. So they're currently talking about, I think, Green Speed is the brand name that they're thinking of using. I mean, that sounds... It doesn't sound very rail-like to me. It sounds a bit almost like a delivery company. So I think if they merge together into a company called Greenspeed, but then kept their brand names as Eurostar and Thales, I think that would work a lot better than what they're actually proposing. But we shall see. And yeah, I'm doing a lot of demolition here. Apologies for that, good citizens of Lunningville. You get the gist by now. We bulldoze, we rebuild. I should do some streams in the future where I just go back to old towns that I've bulldozed and actually rebuild them properly. There, and there. Oh yeah, there was something else I wanted to address as well, and it's to do with lines of communication. So currently there's a lot of ways that you can get in touch with me. Reddit is a good one. You can post on the M4J Reddit. You can also get in touch with me on Discord. You can get in touch on Twitter, Facebook. I think, does YouTube still have a messaging system? I'm not even sure if it does these days. But email used to be one of them. Email used to be on that list. But there's been a few misuses of my email recently. And also, like when I use my email, bearing in mind that that's my business email, I try and be as formal and polite as possible. Whereas most people who email me don't offer the same courtesy. So I don't mind so much on Discord and Reddit because they're more informal to me. But email is just one of those things where I don't know, it's probably the best way of getting in touch with me because it comes straight through to my phone, but at the same time people keep misusing it. So I think email will be taken off the table from now on because there's so many other ways that you can get in touch now. You know, you don't need to email anymore, in all honesty. So yeah, email is no longer an option really. You can I'm trying to think of a way of phrasing it. Basically, if I ask someone to email me, then that's fine, because chances are it's a file or something that's perhaps too big to be shared on Discord. But beyond that, try not to email me as much as you can, because as I say, it's just gotten to that stage now where I kind of have to nip it in the bud now before it becomes a serious issue. I feel like I'm being really negative tonight. I'm trying not to be. We're doing a big build project here. It's supposed to be, you know, new and exciting, but at the same time, there's loads of things happening at the moment. You know, in my work schedule, and it's kind of hampering M4J again. So I'm doing the best I can, but I do need a lot of help to get through it, and a lot of the time I'm not getting that. So I kind of feel like I have to speak out about it. But you know, in a couple of weeks' time, there'll be a bit of a lull in the work schedule, so things will pick up again. But I mean, one of the best ways to keep things positive is to have a nice active chat. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So let's try and get the chat going. As usual, any questions, comments, things like that to do with the M4J network, or OpenTTD, or M4J, anything like that, feel free to ask. Is this tunnel the right length? Yeah, I'd say that's about right for what we're trying to do here. Now, Tondingstone is going to be an interesting one. I kind of want to build a station out in an island here. Transport Fever 2 comes out on December the 11th. Okay. I saw that they posted a trailer, but I didn't watch it. So that's good. Very close to Christmas. Very close to Christmas. Definitely feels like they've planned that. That's fine. Everyone has a bad week. You got to remember as well, though, is, you know, I have good weeks and bad weeks too. And like, again, it's really hard because this week hasn't been a bad week in terms of, you know, mental health or anything like that. It's been a very good week. But in terms of time frames and things like that, without going too much into detail, my work schedule for XVI is always hectic, and I always do it to myself. Like no one at XVI is whipping me or anything like that. But I like to keep busy as much as I can, but sometimes it keeps me too busy to actually do the things that I want to do for M4J. So there is that involved a lot of the time, and it's just one of those things. There isn't a huge deal I could do about it. Just have to juggle the time as best I can. It's a nice challenge. Anyone who knows me, they know I like taking up challenges like this. But you know, good weeks, bad weeks, busy weeks, it always happens. Sometimes you just got to grin and bear it. Sometimes you just got to push through it as best you can. So I have a feeling next week's going to be a very quiet week for work. So maybe then I'll be able to get more stuff done again. So yeah, I get it. As I say, sorry about the whole maps thing, but I do need them all done by a certain time because I need to fit it in with everything else that I'm doing. It's just one of those things. I've just realised I'm building a station designed for fast tracks in the middle, and we don't run with that system here unless I swap it back over here, which I could do. I think I could do that. So then what would happen is you would go to there, you would go to there. Let me try and think of a way of working this. So I might need a tunnel here. Like that. And then you would go over like that. And then down like that. And then over like this. There we go. So would you guys want to see me play Transport Fever 2? Is that something people would be interested in? Kind of feel like, again, there's so many games like the Outer Worlds I was thinking of doing a series on. Red Dead 2 I was thinking of getting. At one point Call of Duty did cross my mind, although I think I still stand with my morals on that one. But I don't want to do it now if no one's going to watch it, because it's a big expense. A lot of these games now are very expensive, so I'm only going to play them on the channel if people are actually going to watch them. Plus there's the whole argument of, do I do something for XVI, do I do it for me? There's all that kind of stuff. Let's say content creation, it's not as easy as just you click a few buttons and a video appears. Okay. I feel like I need a big audience for it though. I need a big audience. As much as I want to do it, because you know, I see a lot of people on the YouTube Reddit. There's YouTubers and there's Small YouTube Channel, I think is the other one, and they always ask the same sorts of questions like, how do you attract an audience, how do you keep an audience, kind of things that you do, and it's always the same sort of answers, which is, you know, do what makes you happy, and then if the audience comes, it comes, which is fine, because a lot of these people are new and they're starting out, and that's the exact advice that I would give. But when you've been going for as long as I have, you kind of want to do things that will get you that audience, consistent audience as well, not just, you know, 12,000 people watch episode 1 and then 200 watch episode 2, because that is not the way to to keep things going. So if enough people want to watch me play Transport Fever 2, and if I feel like enough people would be attracted to the channel, new viewers would be attracted to the channel because of it, then I will do it. But I mean, right now, oversaturation is probably the right word. There are so many people out there who play very similar games to me. Some of them also do it a lot better than I ever could, and it does kind of linger in my mind a little bit, and it puts me off the idea. Because I'd rather do what I'm currently doing and do it better than try something new and fail. So we'll see. We'll see. I will buy the game. One way or another, I'll buy the game and try it out because I think it looks nice. Yeah, it's best not to post all your personal problems in a chat like this, George. You don't really want to give too much personal information away on a YouTube live chat. I hope uni works out well for you though. Don't give up is the thing I would say. Persevere with it. Okay, so this is going to be the station that we build up to for this new route building that we're doing. Why not only do a few episodes and see how it goes? I don't know. I've tried that before. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to be very blunt and very honest here about YouTube. And this is something that's happened throughout the history of my channel. So I'm not pointing out people now, far from. But when I did Cities in Motion 2 the first time around, people watched it. You know, it was my most watched, even now, my most watched video on the history of my channel. I can't speak again for some reason. The most watched video in the history of my channel is Cities in Motion episode 1. I think at the moment it sits on like 20,000 views, or just below 20,000. I think it's like 19,000, which is insane. Even over 6 years, that's pretty insane, and I'm very proud of that. But then look at the stats for episode 2. So episode 1, 19,142. Episode 2, 7,606. So it's almost a third. And then episode 3, it drops by another 2,000. Episode 4 drops by another 1,000. And it keeps dropping. And then you go to my most recent Cities in Motion 2 video, and I think like 20 people watched it. And that's the problem for me, is people watch the first episode and they demand, they don't ask, they demand that you make more, and then they don't watch it. So in terms of how much I work for how many views I get, the ratio is off by a long way. A long way, and it's very demoralizing to try and continue working when that's what's happening. So if I do make videos in a series, I need people to watch them, and if people don't watch them, then it does put me off continuing to make videos, not just for that series, but in general. And as I say, the choice I've always made at the moment between XVI and M4J is which is going to give me the best return in the shortest space of time. And still, the answer to that is XVI. So, with the greatest of respect, because I do appreciate every one of my viewers, no matter how many of them there are, with the greatest respect, when it comes to things like this, starting a new series, I need to think about what makes the channel successful and not just what 2 or 3 people want me to do. Because if those 2 or 3 people then can't watch the content or don't watch the content for whatever reason, You know, I've got nearly 1,000 subscribers, and if I build my entire channel around what 1 or 2 people want me to do, I'm then pissing off 990 something people who are also loyal subscribers. So I might put out like a survey, you know, one of those YouTube survey things that people do now, and just get proper feedback on what kind of thing people want to see on the channel. OpenTTD is great. This series will be continuing. You know, people watch this. It's fun to do as well. I enjoy making these videos. But the other stuff, it's tricky. And like I say, I want to experiment with new videos, but I don't want to take the risk on this channel, which is why I do it on XVI. I feel so negative suddenly. I need to talk about positive things. Let's get positive chat going. Let's put that one there. And then, so I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on in this week's stream. So at the moment we are starting construction on the new rail route to the southeast of Bahecity towards Puntford. We will then plan out new services along the Bahecity Commuter Belt between Wenningpool and Drentbourne/Puntford. We're probably going to alter that second one, and we'll do lots of other bits and pieces as well. So if anyone wants to see something specific on the stream tonight, now's the best time to say, because the second half of the stream is going to be a bit more winging it. We do a few more random things depending on what people want to see. So yeah, let's get those requests in. And while that's going on, I'm just going to finish building this station and talk you through what actually is going on the screen right now. So this is going to be like an interchange station between fast and slow services. There might also be a junction not far from here for another line that will head up north. It could end up joining up with this line here. I'm not 100% sure yet. Even my area gets changes. What? Actually, I do want to talk a little bit about kind of like video game development as well. I think that's a little sort of segue. So it might sound a bit random, considering, you know, this isn't a video game development stream or anything, but XVI, we're working on our first game, working on our debut release, and I can't give too much away about what our game is about yet, but I can tell you that the prologue and part of the first arc will be available as a free-to-play demo on Steam, hopefully later on this month. We're going to work on some deadlines and some announcement dates in the near future. But this is kind of me telling you why I keep talking about being busy all the time, because we had people that were doing external work for us, but for various reasons it fell through. So we've had to do most of the work now ourselves. So we all have our own roles within the company. So my job initially was, you know, head of media essentially. So I was in charge of, that's not the right signal distance. So I was in charge of things like hosting the podcast, editing videos, putting out press releases and all that kind of thing. And you know, that's something I've never actually done before professionally. I've kind of mocked up a few things in the past for fun. I've never done it professionally. So that's my job. That's what I'm getting paid to do. And it's fine. It's fun. I love it. I really like hosting the podcast as well. It's something I have tried in the past for a football news site that I set up with Sparky. But because we had an artist who was working for us to create pixel art, and that didn't work out. So pixel art is something that we've had to learn. Myself, Alex, Sakif and Ben have all had to teach ourselves pixel art over the last few weeks. So my job now has expanded greatly from what it used to be. So now I wake up first thing in the morning, I sit at my desk and I do pixel art for like 3-4 hours. And a lot of it is practice. So most of it will never see the light of day because it's not good enough. and even some of the stuff I have made for you know, test bed, a lot of it isn't really good enough, in all honesty. So most of it won't get released, but it's good practice, so I continuously do it. But because I spend so long now doing that, it means my video editing time has been reduced drastically. So everything that you see get uploaded on YouTube now, it used to be made the week before, whereas a lot of the time now it's made on the same day that you actually watch it. So there's a lot of mistakes creeping in. There's a lot of you know, videos are a lot shorter than they used to be. There's a lot more time lapses now because most of my footage I'm recording at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Live streams like this are great because I can save a lot of time. Like I can do a 2-hour video and not have to worry about editing it down into a 20-minute time lapse. So things like that are fine. But I do feel like the content is starting to slip a little bit. So I'm trying to think of ways to shake things up. So, you know, the Euro Truck series was a way of doing more raw, unedited type videos. So, you know, all the crashes are kept in. And believe me, I crashed that truck a lot. I think it was Monday's video that went up this week. I crashed quite badly. It's quite funny. It'll make an excellent highlights reel. But yeah, as well as doing like the pixel art for XVI, I'm also attending events where we promote the business. I'm also, you know, writing blog posts or helping the rest of the team write blog posts, hosting the podcast. I think I already said that, and editing videos. And there's a lot of content that we've not talked about at all that we're working on. And again, I hate to be that person that makes it sound all mysterious, but I genuinely can't give too much away about that right now. But it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. And that's why the videos perhaps aren't as good. Maybe I'm just being paranoid and they are just as good. But I want to get as much feedback from people as possible. So existing viewers, new viewers, everyone has an opinion on this. When I say about the quality of the videos, do you think the quality of the videos is the same as it's always been? Do you think it's improved? Do you think it's starting to slip? Be honest as well. Don't feel like you have to be necessarily nice, because I want the honest answer from people. What am I doing? That's what I wanted. Stick you there. We'll have some ticket machines, and then we'll have some shelters. In fact, we don't need ticket machine on that side, because you really are supposed to buy one before you cross over. But yeah, I'm probably boring people to tears with these constant explanations, but I want to keep you guys up to date with what's going on. I don't think it's fair to be left in the dark, particularly if you're a long-time subscriber. So the sub numbers have gone up again this week, which I'm really happy with. So I'm really keen to keep that trend going, because I've still got the target end of this year to hit 1,000 subscribers. Trans-Pennine Express, Liverpool to Glasgow 3 a day, Liverpool to Edinburgh 6 coach services on Manchester to Hull and Cleethorpes routes. Harborough for Immingham. I can never say that. Immingham goes hourly instead of 2 hourly. It's currently 3 coaches on Hull and Cleethorpes routes. I know that the 802s have started service on Trans-Pennine as well, which is good to see. Tom's just resubscribed on Twitch. Thank you very much. There won't be a notification this time. I will get an email about it though, so I appreciate that. But yeah, I've turned off all notifications for these streams because the YouTube is a bit funny when it comes to notifications. Like, they don't quite show up as they're supposed to. But yeah, much appreciated, bro. Improved, particularly recently. I've enjoyed it since we've done the live streams. I feel that's the best thing about this series. Yeah, I agree to that extent. Obviously I have my own personal opinions about these videos, and I enjoy doing these streams as well. I do enjoy that. The big disappointment for the streams though, and again it's that ratio of time to return. So they're fine, they're fun, but it'd be really nice to get more viewers. or just more people in the chat. So like last week's chat was incredible. So many people talking, it was amazing. And then, was it 3 weeks before that? Like the week before my break. That was also really good. We had lots of people talking. Really enjoyed that one too. But then there's a lot of streams where I get that sometimes people just want to sit and watch. They don't necessarily want to chat or join in with the chat. But when you're a content creator making videos, it's quite a lonely experience. I think I've said this before. So when you do live streams, you kind of want a vibrant, upbeat conversation with people, and then no one talks, and it's a bit soul destroying in many ways. Whoops. So I like active chats. I like to get as many people talking as possible, and everyone can join in with every conversation. You know, there's no rules necessarily. You can't talk about this, that, or the other. Obviously, keep it away from politics and religion. But if we're talking about new trains in the UK and you're from France, for example, talk about the new trains in France. You know, that's fine. It's not strictly UK only. Despite what the news make us out to be, we're not all isolationists. So yeah, let's get the conversation going. Let's make it fun. So I'm really tempted to rebuild this station here. I feel like we've got too good an opportunity to miss right here. And 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we'll remove the old one, build the new one. And as I've always said as well, this channel is a community thing. It's designed for like-minded people to share like-minded ideas. No one should feel left out. First Hull Trains 802 arrived in the country yesterday. That's also good news. Some news on the HSD issue with cross country. Feel free to share. I read the HST Preservation Society. I'm trying to get their name right. I think that's what I think that's what their name is. The National Rail Museum recalled the prototype HST unit, which was quite a controversial thing. So in response, Porterbrook, who own most of the HST power cars, have donated 2 power cars to the HST Preservation Society. I think that's quite a nice touch. You know, it's a nice thing for them to have done. And it means, you know, an HST might still get preserved here in the UK, which is good news. Not everyone is their biggest fans, but they're good old trains. They've served us very well over the years. And I'm still going to be sad to see them go, in all honesty. I still think it's a very dumb decision to get rid of them. If you had 100 people all chatting at once, you wouldn't be able to join in. There's a fine line. True. True. I do know some streamers who struggle to keep up with the chat. And I mean, it's kind of a nice problem to have still. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Maybe not 100 people, but more than 2 would be nice. And again, I don't want the people who do turn out every week to think that I'm bored of you guys, because I'm not. It's just it is that stage, and it's that existential crisis that people do have when you're particularly when you're a YouTuber, and you do start thinking, am I doing the right thing? Like, no one's watching. And YouTube is a big old place. Lots of people upload every single day. But at the same time, particularly in niche areas like this, there aren't that many OpenTTD YouTubers out there, or content creators. I hate the term YouTuber. I prefer content creator myself. There aren't that many out there. So if you're not winning over those people, then you're obviously doing something wrong. So yeah, I agree that it's nice to be able to monitor the chat properly, and I also am very happy with the numbers of people that do continuously turn out to watch my streams. But it would be nice to have a few more faces through the door every now and then, even if it's not every single week, just every now and then, a few more people coming in. It's the 125 group. That's the one. Thank you, Frank. Apparently someone went to a presentation with Cross Country, and both the DFT and Cross Country agreed that HSTs should not be used as a capacity relief for Cross Country. Instead, they favour new... Of course they do. Why wouldn't they favour new trains? Because it's, you know, such a backwards way of thinking. Sounds exactly like what the rail industry here would be doing. So Northern, they're the company I wanted to talk about with regards to rail news. Because they've kind of been given an ultimatum. And this is one of the things I really wanted to talk about. Because it's hilarious. It's hilarious and it's it's saddening at the same time. So Northern have been threatened that they're going to lose the Northern franchise. So Arriva have received multiple warnings now from Grant Shapps, who's the Transport Secretary, and also from Transport for the North, who are in charge of awarding. I think that I don't know exactly how the system works. I believe Transport for the North are like the Northern equivalent of Transport for London. So they like subcontract the operation of their rail to Arriva. It's something like that. They're not quite the DFT. That's not where I wanted to place that. They're not quite the DFT, but at the same time, they're not like a... I think community project is probably the best way of explaining it. Anyway, that's not the issue. The issue here is Grant Shapps has said that Northern should be taken over by an operator of last resort, or an OLR. Hang on, let me just read the chat a second, then I'll continue the story. East Midlands Railway HST sets are not PRM compliant from next month, so rather than modify them, they are replacing them with LNER sets, which are. That's smarter. That's actually smarter. So you can take the trains that aren't compliant out of service and potentially refurb them so that they are compliant, and replace them with trains of the same class that are currently compliant. That's how you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to just take them out and replace them with new trains that are going to be late. And this is where it comes into play with Northern. So Northern have currently got trains being refurbished. And let me find somewhere. It's a big magazine, this. I think it's the 156s that are currently being refurbished. Is that even the right word? Probably isn't even the right word. Somewhere in here. I think it's the 156s. They're part of the Sprinter family anyway. It's part of the Sprinters. And East Midlands Railway looks like they're doing something similar for the time being too. So they're refurbishing old trains. Effectively, they are refurbing old trains, which is fine. I've got no problem with that. I think that's what you're supposed to do, particularly when you inherit a franchise. The first thing you really should do is look at the existing trains you've got and can you do something with them, rather than just instantly going into, oh no, we'll just scrap them and buy all new ones. Because yeah, what's happened with Northern, let me find the actual article here, because some of it is hilarious. So, Transport for the North, when they gave the franchise to Arriva, part of the agreement was that Arriva would convert most of their operations to driver-only operation. So in other words, they would get rid of the guard. And at the time, Transport for the North said they fully endorsed that project. Now, because there's been lots of rail action, so strikes and other legal action being taken place, Transport for the North have done a U-turn. and they've now said that they do not want Northern to operate with driver-only operation. In fact, last year they said they did not support the removal of an employee. So Northern now effectively have to break the franchise agreement in order to keep Transport for the North happy. Now that is the dumbest thing that Transport for the North could have done. What they should have done was come out in support of the franchise and said, we told them to do this. But because it's politics, no one wants to admit to their mistakes. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, I've just realised I've built this station completely wrong. Issue number two is a lot of these issues are not to do with Northern. So at the time of the franchise agreement, there were also agreements in place to improve the infrastructure, rail infrastructure around the north of England. That's now not happening. A lot of it pretty much is not happening, or it's not being delivered on time. And who do you think is getting the blame for that? Transport for the North, who are responsible for the infrastructure in and around the north of England, or the operator who only pay access charges to run their trains on that infrastructure? And I'll give you a clue. It's not those who are responsible, it's those who aren't that are being blamed for all this. So Northern have been given an ultimatum now that they have to get their act together or they'll lose the franchise. But as has been pointed out by multiple people both within and outside of Northern, even if an operator of last resort came in, the 195s and the 331s are still going to be late. CAF have not delivered those on time. Doesn't matter who's in charge, you can't get those trains in any faster than they currently are being delivered. The infrastructure isn't up to scratch, and again, it doesn't matter who's in charge of the franchise, it's the infrastructure operator or the infrastructure maintenance team that are responsible for that. The driver-only operation is something that now seems to be completely out of their hands because those who did support it are now against it. They can't win at the end of the day. They cannot win. They're going to lose this argument and they're likely going to lose the franchise, and then it will go into nationalised operation, which is what the operator of last resort is, and they're going to make a complete hash of it as well. The reason LNER has been relatively successful is because a lot of the foundation was already put in place before they took control. So Virgin and Stagecoach would probably have done just as good a job, if not better, had they been given the opportunity to. And that's where my issue lies, is the wrong people are getting blamed for the trains not running on time. Because actually, I'm getting the distinct impression that Northern were kind of forced into buying new trains. They had to get rid of the Pacers, yes, and they've inherited a lot of trains now from ScotRail and also from London. I don't know, they went to West Midlands, didn't they, the 172s? Oh, Greater Anglia. I think they got some sprinters from Greater Anglia. They've inherited a lot of trains, anyway. But they've also been forced to build new ones to replace the Pacers. I think what they should have done was replace the Pacers with existing trains on the network. Then you don't have to worry about driver training or anything like that, because your train should already work. They might have had to do some gauge clearances. The other thing, of course, is you've got things like the networkers that are getting phased out now from both Southeastern and Great Northern. Why not convert those for overhead electrification and operate those on the electrified northern routes? They had the 319s that they've brought in, some of which have been converted to bi-mode operation, and it looks like they're slowly getting phased out now, or getting moved to elsewhere. So they were originally, created for one route, and now they're getting moved elsewhere because the 195s and the 3, whatever the number was, are coming in. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. And Northern and Thameslink were the two that suffered from the timetable change last year, and both operators requested to postpone the timetable change because they knew they weren't ready. Northern especially knew that the infrastructure was not ready for them to deliver the services that they were forced into agreeing to. And sure enough, they were forced into it again because the application was denied. The timetable day came, and they weren't ready for it, and now they're getting blamed for it. And I just think it's so unfair. The wrong people are getting blamed. And it's actually infuriating. In many cases, it's not good. Similar thing with Crossrail as well, to be fair. The people, I mean, Crossrail is a disaster. It's a complete disaster, and a lot of people are at fault for that. But I still think blame is getting pointed at the wrong people, you know, even now. And LNER, you know, came about as a result of the wrong people getting blamed for the demise of Virgin. That was Network Rail's fault. It was nothing to do with Virgin. They couldn't deliver the train services that they promised because the infrastructure north of Leeds couldn't cope. In fact, it was Doncaster, I think, was the cut-off point. It's just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But hopefully we're finding a solution to all of that in the not too distant future. Right. I think I've bitched and whined enough. Let's do something different now. So this is kind of phase 1 of tonight's stream done. So we've built this new line. I think what I will do with the Bahecity connection is get that to follow this white line and then have it meet up again. Maybe somewhere around here have a junction that does like a U-turn around. That could work. And then we could have like the terminating platforms that we built over here. We could have little commuter services from Bahecity run around the horseshoe like that. It's also to do with PRM, which means that all trains must have an accessible controlled emission toilet and a minimum of 2 spaces for wheelchair users. Yeah, that's quite easy to... Like, the Pacers weren't able to do that. Fair enough, they needed to go. Plus, they're some of the oldest trains on the network. Likewise, the 313s were also struggling, not just age-wise, but also for accessibility. So they needed to go. And in fact, the last one has now gone. So that's all fine. But some of the other trains could very easily... So there's trains up in Scotland, again, sprinters. So the same family as Northern have the majority of. And they're being converted. So I think it's 153s up in Scotland are getting converted so that one carriage is cycle storage space only, and then the other carriage is for passenger use. And they're adding these units to existing trains. So you'll have a 2-car 156 coupled to this new converted 153, and that will form a 4-car train with cycle space for passengers so that it's not blocking the other carriages. I think it's genius to do things like that. It's like upcycling at its best. It's what you're supposed to do. But yeah, the powers that be aren't always that forward thinking. Tian Smits, welcome to the stream. Sounds like a classic case of the government shoving the blame towards an operator. Happens a bunch here with buses. Budgets get cut and then provinces act like it's down to the operator. Yes, that is exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. Operators promising more than they know they can deliver to win a massive contract also is not uncommon. Yes, that's also what happens over here. Operators these days are forced into either promising new trains, increasing services, or higher dividend payments, and pretty much all three of those they know they can't deliver, but they have to do it, or they have to promise it in order to win the contract. It's kind of like cheating the system, but then falling foul of it at the same time. Trains without toilets are exempt. 153s are single car units. Let me check that. I've got it written down here somewhere. The type of train it is. I think you're right. Yeah, 153s are single car. Where is it? I had all this stuff memorized where it was, and now it's completely gone out of my head. Oh no, it is 153s. Oh, okay. I see what they've done. Right, so the 153 has been split in half. Half of it is seating, the other half is cycling. I thought it was one carriage was for storage and one was for passenger use, but it's not. It's the single carriage has been split in half. And then yeah, they'll work in conjunction with 156 units. So because a lot of people use, this is on the West Highland line, I should have pointed that out as well. So a lot of tourists use it, and a lot of hikers use it. You know, people who want to go and explore the Highlands essentially use this service. So they're adding an additional carriage with extra cycle storage space to create more room in the existing units that are being used. So yeah, the problem we have here in the UK is everyone thinks privatization is the problem, and the privatization is not the problem. It's the fact that the whole system is not fully privatized, which it could never be in order for it to work. To be fair, you can't have an independent body, particularly a for-profit organization, awarding franchise agreements, because that just encourages corruption. But the finger of blame is always pointed at the operators, when in fact it's the government department, the DFT, who are responsible for issuing franchises. They're also responsible for issuing terms of franchises, and they're also responsible for monitoring the state of the franchises. So when things start to go wrong, the DFT are very quick to push the blame onto the operators, but they're the ones who are in charge of the whole project. It's kind of like if your boss at work just sits back and does nothing all day, and then as soon as the project goes wrong, they just say, oh, but it was Steve's job to do this, when you know they should have been supervising. That's the issue, and it becomes an issue of national importance, in my opinion, because the wrong people are getting blamed. And you watch the news now, and there's constantly people, particularly at Waterloo, standing on the platform saying, you know, South Western Railway need to know how to run their trains. But a lot of the time, there's been an incident at like Clapham Junction, which is served by Southern, South Western Railway and London Overground, and it's Network Rail's job to come out and fix it, and they can't for whatever reason. So then it just cascades, and you've got 3 separate operators all stuck at the same place, and yet only one company gets the blame for it, and 9 times out of 10 it's South Western. It's kind of, it's like dark humour in many ways. You want to laugh at it. It's absolutely tragic that it still happens, but you want to laugh at it as well. Because if you ain't laughing, you're crying. EMR are getting rid of 153s, but some may still be in service next year, so they are attaching them to PRM compliant 156s. Again, that's kind of smart. It's the right thing to do. I think we need to look at how franchises are rewarded. And I think we need to create some more consistency across the network as well. So an idea I had was something that kind of happened back in the early 2000s, which was First Group had a lot of franchises around the country. So they had, I think it was called Thames Trains back then. I think that was First. It might have been Stagecoach, thinking about it. But they had First Great Western. They also had First Hull Trains. Eventually they had First Capital Connect as well. What else did they have? ScotRail. I think they had ScotRail for a period too. And that kind of works well, because if there's a problem with some rolling stock on First Great Western, and First Hull Trains are in a position to hire out the trains to First Great Western, because they're sister companies, it makes it a lot easier. You can do a sublease. Whereas now, pretty much every company is independent. Even if they have the same name, they still act as independent bodies. So it's too much independence now. There's not enough cooperation. And I still think a lot of the franchises last year threw Thameslink and Northern under the bus. They knew they weren't ready for the timetable changes, and they didn't allow them the opportunity to fix the mistakes. And that to me is scapegoating at the highest order. Williams has said the DFT will not dictate the franchises which are being abolished and replaced anymore. Instead, an independent body will manage the network and provide accountability. It just sounds risky, that, though. In other words, one person is in charge of the... That's very risky, because one person can be biased. I like how YouTube withheld the fat controller bit there. Nothing wrong with that. It's his name. Actually, yeah, because again, I've got an article here. We will move on with the stream in a second, by the way. We will move on with the stream in a second. So, the Williams report will be published soon. But one of the things he's recommended is a fixed fee approach. So instead of... where is it? He's in favour of the Transport for London concession model, which would permit bonus payments for innovation. So, you know, if the franchise operator does something innovative, so like they convert trains to operate on different power sources, things like that, you know, find new ways to rebuild stations to protect heritage but also increase service capacity, then bonus payments should be awarded for that. Having concessions rather than franchises would eliminate the profit motive from operating contracts by using a fixed fee. But then he also recognises there is no one-size-fits-all franchise contract because of the wide variation of each franchise, but he advocates changes in revenue risk. And actually, I don't want to agree with him, but I do. I think it's smart. Innovations should be credited because it creates an incentive for companies to actually do that. Bonus payments as well. You have to incentivize these people to actually do their jobs properly, and that's one of the best ways to do that. One of the ideas I was thinking of was particularly things like Northern are the largest franchise in Britain in terms of stations managed, and I think they're too big. So I think what you have to do is you have to split it. So like Northwest, Northeast, have them as two separate franchises, maybe held by the same company, but operate, again, I don't want to say independently, but you know what I mean. Have them operate as two separate entities rather than one big banner. Because there's too much at stake. If something goes wrong somewhere on the Northern network, it can impact on everything in the north of England. And then that includes the other franchises that also operate through those areas. So yeah, I think split Thameslink Great Northern into one franchise and take Southern out of it and have them as a separate franchise. Do the same thing up in the north with Northern, split it into Northwest and Northeast. Any other big franchise? I think they're the major big players. Because even the Midlands now is kind of separated. You've got East and West. Plus London North Western and West Midlands Rail. They're owned by the same company, but they operate as separate things. Which is, again, a smart thing to have done. Right. Let's move on with the stream. So the first part is done. So now we're going to plan out services along the Bahecity Commuter Belt, but we're kind of going to mess around with that a little bit. Maybe one person in charge of the railways isn't or an independent body. I don't think it should be one person, but an independent body, like a board of directors. But not a nationalised board of directors, before anyone says that. No, no, no. That is not the solution, because then the government just won't invest in the railways anymore, and we'll end up back in the 1980s. Plus, I still find it funny. Our government is trying to privatise everything at the moment. The Post Service, the National Health Service, you know, anything that's currently nationalised, they're trying to privatise, and yet at the same time they're trying to take a privatised rail system and turn it into a nationalised one. How does that work? LNWR and WMR, yep, they're the two parts of. Is it West Midlands Railway or the umbrella company, and then there's the two franchises from that? I can't remember now. It also says a national rail body independent from the government, and it would include all sorts of things, sort of like a BR board with a single man in charge. Single person in charge. Come on now, it's 2019. You need someone who's not biased, basically. You need someone who didn't have a bad rail experience when they were a kid and therefore hates trains now. That ain't the solution. Okay, Before we get started on rebuilding, planning out services, I do want to do a little bit of rebuilding. So this line into Bahecity from Drentbourne. Oh, that's this one. This one has been done, to my knowledge. Looks like it's been done. Do you remember where this line was going to go? Does this connect up with Drentbourne as well? Oh no, it connects up with that. Oh, hold on. Okay, this might actually be a better connection for the Guard City trains. Maybe we'll have one run this way instead. We can always add more. That's the good thing. We can always add more as long as the capacity's there at GSMA, which it should be because it's a massive station. We can always add more. So actually, I think what we're going to do, instead of the Bahecity Commuter Belt between Wenningpool and Drentbourne, what we're actually going to do is move that to next week, and instead we're going to work on the southeastern franchise. Yeah, I think that's going to be better. Concessions are kind of just franchises that come out on the negative side profit-wise. All decentralized services are subsidized in the Netherlands. Who can offer the most for the least still wins. So companies will keep being incentivized to offer unrealistically good deals. Okay, that's an interesting appendix to that. TfL are a different breed when it comes to these agreements, though, and the reason it works so well for them is because they've tailored it to suit them best. Plus they run on independent tracks as well. Merseyrail not so much because they do share with Network Rail at various points, but a lot of London Overground is independent from the rest of the network. The only times where it's not are, let me think, down to New Cross and Crystal Palace. It does share tracks with Southern and I think Southeastern. And also out to Richmond. It shares tracks with London Underground, which again is TfL. So it's kind of, in that case, it's isolated. And that's kind of the point I was making with Southwestern, is they're not isolated. They work on the same metal as 2 or 3 other operators at pretty much all times. And actually, the other day, in fact, again, I think it's in my magazine, there was a cross-country unit that arrived at Doncaster with one of the bogies on fire, and they shut down the the overhead electrification, which then affected LNER, Northern, First Hull. First? No, they're not First anymore, are they? Just Hull trains. Grand Central. All of that was affected by one train on an independent franchise. Yeah. Again, it's London. Anything in London is okay money-wise. But it's because it's largely independent. TfL don't work in the same realm as the Department for Transport. They're a separate entity. So they award their franchises based on their own terms. They don't have to fulfill any other criteria. And they choose companies that they feel will offer the best services. And then they actually give them the opportunity and the resources to go out and deliver that service. So the Capital Stars were a really good investment in terms of getting the trains running on London Overground. Unfortunately, the Adventurers for the Goblin line weren't as successful because they've come in incredibly late. But that's not... it's Arriva, isn't it, that runs TfL Rail and London Overground. So it's not their fault that those trains were late. I think the majority of people know that because TfL took the blame for that one, because they are the ones who ordered the trains. So they're the ones who are being made to answer for the trains not being delivered on time. And it's the same thing with Crossrail. TFL are being held responsible for Crossrail not being delivered on time because TFL were the ones responsible for Crossrail not being delivered on time. Right, Southeastern. Southeastern. That's what we're going to be working on now. Southeastern. So I need to get my service schedules. Let's move the live stream over onto this screen. There we go. We'll get the service schedules up. So we have got Guard City Southeastern, and then we've also got Southeastern. So Southeastern currently has the express trains between Guard City and Bahecity. So there's the direct express that goes between the two. And then there's also the ones that stop at Tarnway and Funston, Waterside Airport, Drentbourne Retaya, and Bahecity Central. And then we've got the more stopping one as well. Stops at a lot more stations along the way. So now we're going to come up with some that start at Bahecity and run out towards all these other places along the network. So for example, an all-stopper that goes between Bahecity and Drentbourne. Little ones like that. So anyone who's got the game open in front of them and has the M4J network open in front of them. Oh yeah, this still needs to get rebuilt as well. Again, time constraints, couldn't help it unfortunately. But anyone who wants to suggest some services, now's the time. So the map, if you go on the M4J Discord, George posted the link to the Reddit post with the map. I think I've pinned it to the top. So if you go on the pinned messages, it should be there. But basically, Bahecity is kind of the starting point for a lot of these. Denston is also a terminus. Tuningly Estelle, Drentbourne, and then you've got Plenborough as well. Puntford when it's built. Lots of major stations like that are going to be part of this. So actually, I'm trying to think. Was there a new line that we were supposed to build? Because Tuningly is here. And Drentbourne. So I think there's meant to be a link between these two lines. Is that right, George? If there is, we could probably build that now. And then we could actually plan out those trains. I feel like this would be a really good spot to build the depot as well. The only problem is then getting trains right the way over onto this far line. That could be an issue. Okay, where was the link supposed to go from? Yeah, I know Tuningly to Denston. What I mean is, this is the line to Denston, and this is the line to Tuningly. So where was the connection between the two lines supposed to be built? Was it literally meant to be here, in like a triangle, or was it supposed to be elsewhere? I don't want to be too political about it, but London, of course, also doesn't have a party in charge that thinks government should handle as little money for its citizens as possible. Yeah. In a way, you're right. Just west of Denston. Denston? All the way up here? Where are we? Here. So Denston is here. Wait, are you saying Denston when you mean Drentbourne? Because this is miles away now from where... Yeah. So you mean north of Drentbourne? Look, again, here's Drentbourne. Here's the line that goes up towards Buntbourne, I believe. Is it Bunt? No, this is the line that goes down towards... Where does this one go? That's a good question. Oh, this is the one that heads up towards Guard City. That's right. Mega SSSSDD. Hello. Good evening. Ironically, perhaps, privatisation is best compatible with the parties advocating against it at the national level. Yeah. I think what people need to realise is the very thing they're campaigning for already exists. It's just very badly operated. And the reason it's very badly operated is because the people they believe are responsible are actually not the ones responsible, and the ones who they think will solve the problem are the ones who are actually responsible. So that's where the misconception, shall we say, has come into play. Now, the easiest way to fix it is to correct that misconception, which is a lot easier said than done, because a lot of the time people put out statements stating that, and then people don't read them. But we have this thing ingrained in the population now that it's always companies' fault. You know, it's always commercialization at its worst, capitalism not working, rather than the government are failing the people that they promised to look out for. I'm still waiting for George to tell me where this connection's meant to go. So all we have to do is correct the misconception that it's actually the government who are failing in terms of the rail industry, and also companies who are being paid good money to build new trains aren't delivering their products on time. That's where the issue lies. And if we can get that message out there, then we can all work together and find a solution. And it's not so much just point the finger at the right person and then run away and hide. Everyone's culpable in this scenario. Everyone needs to come up with a solution. Otherwise it will continuously fail. Okay, I'm just going to build a connection because it doesn't look like I'm going to get an answer anytime soon. So I'm going to build it like this. I'm going to have a 2-track line that connects the 2 sets of slow lines together. Because I'm pretty sure it's only going to be slow services, maybe semi-fast, that are going to join up between these 2 places. Yeah, I had a feeling you didn't know, George. I had a feeling. As I say, I'm just building it like this now. Oh God. Shut the wrong damn window. This needs to be 1 tile longer. So yeah, I had an idea recently for the network here. We've got all these main lines that span out from the main cities, but not many lines actually connect them together. So we've started to fix that a little bit over by Guard City. So a lot of the West Winds connections now actually connect up some of the places that weren't previously connected to one another. And I kind of want to do that down here as well. So this little line here is a good place to start in terms of doing that. And then over at Bar City we can connect some of those main lines together as well, which is always good. And yeah, you're spot on there, Tian. It's scapegoating. It is scapegoating. It's also it's incredibly misleading. Okay, so this is now connected, and then somewhere over here we'll build a junction so that the fast trains can go back. Actually, is it worth it? Probably isn't worth it. The station's there. Yeah, I think we might just leave it as is on both sides. Because here we're right near Drentbourne, so fast trains can run on the slow tracks for a little bit. I think that works. Okay, so that's one bit done. Now we've got to do the rest. So another part of the network was up to Denston, which we've done. There's actually, because this Reddit post is great, except it misses out the entire network that runs through Tarnway and Funston. And because I've since made it so that most of the trains go through there, which is along this line, funny enough, we're going to have to add that in. So somewhere, could have a train that terminates at Nunville as well, I suppose, because that's what it was kind of set up for. I keep tripping over my words as well, it's really annoying. I don't know why. Waterside Airport as well, can have a train from Bahecity that terminates there. And then this line, I think, connects up. Does this go down to Plenborough? So this was me realising that we needed to connect up loads of lines. Yeah, so this goes down towards Plenborough. Now, does the northern one go up to Munfingford? I don't think it does. I think it just connects up to this. Then over here, I think this is the Munfingford one. Yeah. So Munfingford's too far west anyway, but I just want to get my bearings so that I know where we are. So from Waterside we then run north up this way, and Tarnway and Funston here is going to be our limit from Bahecity, apart from the ones that then continue up to Guard City, of course. So I think we should rebuild the approaches to Tarnway now. So we're not going to change the platform layout, but we're going to change the approach layout. Because I like this station, I think this looks really cool. For those of you that don't know, this is based on Berlin Hauptbahnhof, which is the main station in Berlin. Very clever design. So essentially you have... actually, how have they done it in OpenTTD? I'm not entirely sure. So I think in real life, these are the suburban platforms, like the S-Bahn, and I think there's some commuter trains that run through on the upper level. And then down in the basement, running parallel to these bridges, are the high-speed tracks and the intercity tracks. So the ICE, and then the IC, and things like that. It's very clever design, works very well. Big open-air station as well, which is always nice. We're starting to get more of that now in the UK, but not as much. So let's do this now on camera. And I think this will take us up to the end of the stream. So this is kind of for people who want to see how I do my stations, why I build them the way I do. Keep watching, because you'll find out. So the way this used to work was you had two lots of fast lines, two lots of slow lines all coming in. And I think we had the fast tracks in the center and the slow tracks either side. We're going to completely change that now, so that all the slow tracks are on the north side of the station, and all the fast tracks are going to be on the south side of the station. Which means we will need to do some crossing over and some bridges and things like that. We also need to create enough space for all the waypoints that are involved. It's going to be a bit of a mess to do all this, but once it's done, yes, we will need to get rid of that. Once it's done, we'll be able to run trains through here, no problem, and it'll be so satisfying. So I'm going to be a little more ruthless with the bulldozer on this side. So all of this, all of this, all of this. Okay. So let's have... How many tracks have we got here? 12. So let's have 6 and 6, should we say? Yeah. I did read about that. I've not read the article in full yet, but what is Rail Riders? I know it's an enthusiast club. So it's an enthusiast club. Is that all it is? Oh yeah, it looks like that's all it is. Well, I'm not against it. In no way am I against it. I think it sounds good. It just didn't have. It's never come across my radar before. It's just one of those things. Right. So yeah, here at this section here, we're going to get the fast lines to cross over the slow lines. So this is why all of these station rebuilds are big projects, because a lot of it involves rebuilding a lot of the town around it as well, and huge bits of the main line get redone at the same time. So this new slow line is now going to go like this. We'll redo all the signalling first before we worry about the rebuilding of the station. So I think here what we're going to do is create a diagonal line here. Get rid of all of this. So this slow line is going to come straight underneath like this. And what's going to happen is that's going to be one line, that's going to be another line, that's going to be one line, that's going to be another line. So then you are going to join up with that one there. And you are going to join up with that one there. And then you are going to run down like that. However, it's not quite as easy as this, because this fast line here then needs to cross over. So I think we're going to be building a tunnel on the slow line here, because it looks like we could build this straight out. Maybe not, actually. It's a lot of demolition involved. We're going to have to remove all of this. I'm not sure I'm happy doing this amount of demolition. Can't really undo it now though. So yeah, this will come down to here. Like this. Which one's the fast line? So it is the bottom one, that's good. So here's the thing though, because if I just built this out like this, had it cross over there, that would then bring it over to here. Is there then enough room? Don't think there is. I'm talking about getting all the waypoints and stuff in. I mean, there's enough room to connect it up, obviously. So we could demolish a huge amount of housing here. Because really, what I want is the tunnel to be here. Done. And then this line will come across like this line will come across like this. And then that one will connect up there. This one will connect up like this. And then the other fast line will join up with this one, and then you've got your station. But even then, we haven't got the most room in the world. But we have got more. So it'd be like that. So then if we demolish in line with this, let's do it like this. and then this will connect up like that. Like that. And then this line here would go like that alongside. It was originally a BR created club for kids. It was got rid of in the late 80s. Then the reformed one is for everyone. A lot of steam railways, groups and shops have agreed discounts for members. Oh, that's cool then. So yeah, from what I just read, it's a clothes company, Buffer Beam. Did I read that right? Clothing? Clothing supplier Buffer Beam. Yeah. And then, yeah, open to all ages. That's pretty cool then. Okay, these two connect up like this. You go down there, you go along like that. And connect. Done. And then on this side, you're going to bridge over like that. Like that. A little bit more demolition, I'm afraid. Probably gonna have to remove this bridge. There we go. So then you come across to there and to there and then down. Okay. So we are going to have some crossover between the slow and the fast here. But the majority of it is pretty much going to be just like that. So some of the crossover would be like this, for example. Which means a lot of this will also be like that. And like that. This one will then come down something like this. Yeah, something like that. These will then all join up, which they already have been. And then this one, I suppose we can just go straight down like that. I think that'll work best for this design. Then we can also do a couple of crossovers like that. Okay. And then finish up this bit like so. So now this station, Sarham South, is going to be on the right side of the lines, which is good. We'll get this built in first. Actually, no, we'll do the resignaling first. That'd be smarter, wouldn't it? So let's do the fast lines first. so. Then we'll do the slow lines. Like so. Path, 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 path. And then these ones. Like so. So that's the west side done. Now we've got to do the east side. And this one's going to be tricky. So the northern one here isn't as important, because it splits not far from here. Yeah, it splits over here, and then this one goes down to one track anyway. So this is the line that runs over to... I'm trying to remember the name of the station. Lenway Rialto, that's the one. So this is the eastern limit of the Guard City Southeastern franchise. Whereas Southeastern comes from this side, Mondum, and the fast line is on the wrong side, so we're going to have to move that. We're also going to have to redo this, which I might do tonight as well. How are we doing for time, by the way? Oh, we're coming up to 2 hours. Okay. So I'm probably not going to have time to do that. Okay, let's plan this out first. So, like this for the slow, and like this for the fast. No, it's not necessarily going to come all this way out. I think Mondum Station is actually going to be moved, and I think Runtborough is going to become the connection. I don't know though. I feel like we need more room. Like if we swung this line around this way, we'd have more. Maybe if we just moved Mondum Station to like over here. So then we've got this like natural valley. What do you guys think? You think this will work? So if we cleared a 4-track space here, and then instead of having this line pass underneath this line, we actually had this line pass underneath this line. And then we don't have to do this climb here either. That might work better. What do you propose instead? Let me save the game so I don't lose what we've already got. Thing is, we can't... The two options are, we either move the connection for Mondum, like move Mondum Station to this site here, or we just remove the connection at Mondum, because we can't get enough waypoints into a gap this big. It has to be wider. So what's it to be? Also, which side? Okay. Move Mondum. Oh, so you do want me to move Mondum? I thought you just said no to that. Frank says move it as well. Okay, we'll move it. So this would be the new site of Mondum Station. It also means then these platforms here can be built directly above the platforms below. Whereas at the moment they're quite a ways apart. You think about it, like in the game here, these look quite close together, but then you start looking at it, they're like 3 streets apart, which is quite a long way. Even in real life, it's quite a long way. Okay, so slow tracks are on the west side. So the fast tracks are going to pass under the slow tracks. Yeah, pass under the slow tracks. Not sure about parallel. Perpendicularly, yeah. I would do parallel if I could. Again, if there was enough space to get the tracks over here, I would do that. I think it's going to have to be perpendicular, I'm afraid. I think this station's going to be renamed as well with the new site. So it'll be Mondham, Tontfield and Runtborough, all served by a single station. So we'll still keep Runtborough. I think we'll just rename it Mondham and Tontfield, maybe. Keep Mondham West. Don't know actually, do we need Runtborough if we've got this station? Yeah, I mean, I don't want to remove it if we don't have to. We can always come back to that. Okay, so, slow and fast. That's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. So let's build these junctions and work out how much space I'm going to need. So from here, I think a bit like that. And then on this side, very similar thing. Not that one. Like this. Extra space in the center there. So I think we're going to do that, and then like that. Plus, I mean, we've got extra room here as well that we should add some crossovers to. I always feel like I add too many crossovers to my stations, but then I look at pictures of other stations around the world, and I think I get it about right. There's a classic, I've mentioned this before on stream, the old diamond that Newcastle Central used to have. You look at how many crossovers that station has. I mean, bloody hell. They went overkill when they built that one. Okay, so these are the fast tracks going this way, so we'll add those in. We'll do it like this to start with. And then kind of like that, and then you go along like that. Get rid of all this bit as well. Okay, so that the fast lines and the slow lines, you need to cross them over. Varies a lot by country as well. Yeah, it does, it does. Yeah, I kind of stopped mid-sentence then. So there's the diamond at Newcastle, which is, there's so many crossovers there. The other one I was looking at was, hang on a second. I mean, Japan are in a different league when it comes to their rail network. They're so well organized. Let me find it. There's a picture somewhere in this magazine. I think it was in the network section. Excuse the page turning noise. Where is it? Oh yeah, Edinburgh has quite a few crossovers as well. Where is it? I had all of this kind of like noted down somewhere, and now I can't remember where any of this was. I think it was on the East Coast Main Line. It might have been King's Cross. And there was a picture I was looking at. But yeah, high-speed lines have very few crossovers. Both in the UK, Europe, all over the world pretty much. But a lot of stations here in the UK crossover crazy, essentially. So yeah, what I was going to do was just quickly measure this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So let's say the speed limit is 40, maybe 30. 30 if stopping. No, 40 if stopping, even on the slow lines. So it'll be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then one more there, just in case we have got trains that can go at 100. Like that. And then pretty much from here, we go round to over there. That's not too bad, actually. Meanwhile, the slow lines will go up and over this. Yeah, crossovers are expensive in themselves. They're also an operational nightmare if they malfunction. Not saying they will malfunction, of course, but it has happened. So in countries like Japan as well, where there's a lot of seismic activity, shall we say, you don't want something that has a risk of failure. So that's what I really admire about the Japanese network, is they have earthquakes, for crying out loud, and they have a better rail system than most countries. They build their network to survive earthquakes. The only problem they've had this year is flooding. One of their depots has been flooded. So I think there's like, I'm trying to remember how many it was, 30-something Shinkansen units that are being scrapped because it's cheaper to scrap them and build new trains than it is to repair the flood damage, which is a bit of a shame. But you know, if they've done the economy test and that's the cheaper option, then fair enough, that's the cheaper option, that's what they're going to have to go with. In France, where the Eurostar splits to go either down to Paris or along to Brussels, there's a triangular junction that's designed to be taken, I think it's 120 miles an hour, and it's a triangular junction. So you think how big that triangle must be so that those trains can run at that speed through that junction. That must be insane. And I think that's the LGVS route, where that joins up with the route from Calais and also the route from Brussels. In fact, I think that is the route to Brussels. Alright, so this is the new connection from Mondum Station. So we're going to get rid of these platforms here, and then we're going to get rid of this set of tracks here, and this set of tracks here, and all of this set of tracks here. Like so. And then we're going to straighten this and flatten this so that it meets like that. And then once we've built this line back in, we'll go back and fix the hill to make it look nice again. I remember building this, just carving through the landscape here. I must admit, for a second or two I felt quite bad. Believe it or not, in real life I'm in support of you know, planting trees. So the big tree planting campaign going on at the moment, I wish I could support it financially. Unfortunately, I don't have the funds to do that right now. But I'm very much in favour of what they're doing. I think you need campaigns like this to raise awareness as well. So, big advocator of that. So I know in the game I like to bulldoze people's houses and carve through forests and things like that. The only reason I do it is because I know it's not real. If this were real, believe me, I would be taking a lot more care of my citizens and of the environment. Alright, so new Mondum station is going to be built right here. We'll do the signalling first and then we'll add it in. And I think we are going to rename it Mondum and Puntford. Don't know what we're going to... I think we don't need to mention Runtborough because it has its own station over here. That's what it's for. So the tracks are back in, so let's fix this hill. Do it from the top here. Oh! My game actually lagged then, did you see that? It actually struggled to put the hill back in. There we go, and then same thing on this side, so we'll do something like this, and then we'll do something like this. And something like this. Kind of like that. And then we'll grab loads of trees. And ta-da! Right. New Mondum station. Let's put the signalling back in and then we'll worry about that. So this bit's going to be quite easy. I think that's like the 5th time I've said now let's put the signalling back in, then I'll worry about that. Apologise for constantly repeating myself. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. C'est magnifique. Lines up perfectly. Now we've got to do these ones. So slow, 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 slow. Like so, and then fast, 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 fast. Okay, so a lot of the service planning is kind of going to happen. Like we'll do some of it on stream before we end, but I think a lot of it is going to kind of take place after the stream finishes. Mainly because, again, I don't want to just be sat on Google Sheets mapping all that out and you guys not being able to see any of it, because that's not fun, is it? So we'll do as much of it as we can here. I think a lot of it will... I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. What do you guys want? That's the question. What do you guys want? Alright, Mondum platforms going back in. The other thing now, of course, is you can build some more links now between Puntford and Mondum. And again, we need to get buses and stuff set up on all these towns. That's going to be a logistical nightmare, trying to get all that working. That is where I will need people's help. Okay, how would you like me to do the service planning? Because really I'm going to need input from people to make it work. So people could get their thinking caps on. So we're planning out the trains from Bahecity up as far as Tonway and Funston, but also going to all the other stations like Denston, Tuningley. I'm trying to remember all the other ones now. I think that's it for now. Eventually we'll have some more added south of Bahecity. What was I doing? Oh yeah, benches and then shelters. Okay, we'll build a station building of some description in this gap. and then we'll fill all this in with roads and stuff, make it look nice. Alright, the other thing I'm going to do really quickly, because it's going to bug me otherwise, is fix this. So I'm going to get this to run straight down this way, I think. Let me work this out. So the track down here was 1 below the station, which means it was on this level, and this level is 2 below this level. So I think I can get this in. If I just delete, bulldoze, whatever you want to use, all of this, and build it to there. Yeah, it looks like we have the space. Oh yeah, we got the space. There we go. So now you go down, you go up, you go up. This one also needs to go up. Like so. There we go. So fast lines. Okay. Let's do it from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can go, actually no, you need to go there. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, for God's sake. Come on. Right, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right. I'm glad we got that fixed as well, because I think that was the worst offender on this route. Particularly as this is the main route to Denston as well, so we needed that to work. That bit out of Tarnway and Funston. This is on the main route, because I think the rest of this now was pretty much okay. I think, did we check this last week? Yeah, because that's where the link to Cadingbury is. And all of this bit is up to spec. So yeah, in theory, we can now start running direct services between Guard City and Bahecity. Still got to add all the waypoints in and do the speed limit sheets, but I'm not going to do those on stream because, oh no, they're not fun. So in terms of Southeastern, we can now go up as far as Tarnway and Funston. So let's plan out those services. In terms of the depot distribution as well, the services that we've already got from Guard City down to Bahecity, we could in theory switch those around, so Bahecity would be the start point and Guard City would be the end point. But for now I think we're just going to leave it as is, and the Southeastern services that will use the same depot as the Guard City Southeastern services for those three. But for the rest of them, we're going to be starting down here at Bahecity. I always think Bahecity sounds like varsity, as in like university competitions. They're completely not the same thing, but it just sounds like it. So Bahecity Central is going to be the start point. Let's copy this line here. So for those of you that want to see what I'm doing, if you head onto the service schedule sheet, link is in the description. You'll be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm working on the Southeastern tab as well, for those of you that want to know. Okay. Copy. So instead of 1GXX, let's do 1M. Actually, let's just continue the alphabet. So I don't know, H. Probably not even the right classification, but c'est la vie. So Bahecity Central. I think this service will head up towards Tarnway. So the next one will be Bahecity Senningbury. Double N? No. Bahecity Senningbury. I think we might miss out this one. I think the next stop will be Drentbourne, by the looks of things. Yeah. Drentbourne. So no one's offering any ideas, which is a little bit frustrating. Oh, this bit here needs redoing as well. This curve here. I think I'll do that some other time. Won't worry about it right now. I think we will stop here at Kenninghead Central. Big town. Skip out Farborough. Are we? Yeah. And then we'll stop at Wanningston. And then Nunville Central. And then across this way, Waterside Airport, definitely. And then turn north. I think we should stop at Hartberg as well. Yeah, we'll do it. Well, it's a long way for an all-stopper. Do a semi-fast. I look at it as like tree roots expanding out. Ow! I just knocked something onto my foot. Tree roots expanding out from a trunk. So if you think like Bahecity is our hub, that's the trunk. The more roots you have spread out, the thinner they get. So we can end up with single services covering some of these lines. So Tarnway and Funston is the outer reach. That's the smallest route. So one service pretty much. One fast service, maybe a stopping service. Not every stopping service has to go to Bahecity as well, of course. Some might go from like Waterside Airport to Tarnway and Funston. That could be its own service. And that could be an all-stopper. Where are we? Hartberg. And then up here. Oh yeah, this needs renaming. So you're going to be Mondham and Tontfield. Might need to change the 3-letter code for that. Probably can leave it as is, but just check that for me, George. And then, yeah, Tarnway and Funston. So we've got two double-barreled names, one after the other. So that's one service. So we could do, what, 45, 30, 60, and then like 2-minute stops elsewhere. So maybe 5 there, and then 5 at Drentbourne, 5 at Waterside, and then just 2 everywhere else. It's now MTF instead of MND. Okay, awesome. Maybe a semi-fast from Tarnway and Funston and stopper from Denston. So hang on, do you mean a semi-fast from Tarnway and Funston to Drentbourne, and then a stopper from Denston to Drentbourne? Is that what you're saying? Okay, let's call that one done. Yeah, I do think we should do some more, or any stopping services now rather than semi-fast. So let's do 2GXX. Okay. Let's go. Let's do a stopper from Bahecity first. Like Bahecity to Drentbourne. Let's do that. Actually, no. Let's do what you suggested first. I think that's better. Oh, actually, no. Okay, what I'm going to do. Oh, I just can't spell. There we go. Right, semi-fast. I'm going to do a semi-fast from Bahecity to Denston. Then we'll do the two that you've suggested, George. And if anyone else has some suggestions while we're doing this one, feel free to add them in. That would be great. So do Bahecity Central, Bahecity Senningbury. This is a semi-fast, so it can go on the fast tracks, but it will stop at every station on the fast track. So Great Pundinghattan. Then there's another one down here somewhere, isn't there? No? I thought there was. Could have sworn there was. Maybe we should have one. Maybe not. I think this line could end up being quite congested. So Drentbourne will be the next stop. Yeah. So it starts at Bahecity and goes all the way up to Denston. So the next stop is Fentown West. And then, yeah, we'll stop here as well at Wanborough. And then Denston, by the looks of it. Okay, nice and easy. Colour that black. I think these services will run slightly more regularly as well, so every half an hour instead of every hour. And 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 55. Okay. So then you said a semi-fast from Tarnway and Funston to Drentbourne and a stopper from Denston to Drentbourne. So let's do the semi-fast first. We'll start at Denston. Sorry, Drentbourne. Got me confused now. 2AXX. Semi-fast. Drentbourne retire. Okay, and then you're going to run down this route. So the next stop is going to be. Yeah, we need to redo this. We might have to take out this station, Kenninghead South. Just have Kenninghead Central and Grondinghattan. Yeah, I think that's smart. Let's do that now before I forget. Okay. Slope down. Oh, hang on. Scrap this road first. Okay, now slope down. There we go. And then come along this way. Oh, it's high. I think we're going to have to slope down again. Sodding road. I really want to work with you, towns, but you make it so difficult. I wish it was possible to have a road where if you lowered the land down underneath it, it just turned it into a bridge. That'd be a really cool patch to have in the game. Kind of like what City Skylines tries to do. Okay, that kind of works. Then we can join these up. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Drentbourne retire. That's where we started. Then we come through here. Next stop is Kenninghead Central. And then here, Farnborough. And then up here to Wanningston. And then, yeah, this should be turned into a single diagonal as well, so we might have to cut into Sonthingford to do that. Nunville Central. Waterside Airport. Hartberg. Then I think it is Mondham and Tontfield, and then Tarnway and Funston. Is that right? Yeah. Mondham and Tontfield. And then Tarnway and Funston. 2 gap for depot. Put the black line in. So again, you're going to be 30 minute. I might as well make this the new template. Okay, so you're going to be 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 5 minutes there, 2, 2, 30, 30 and 60. Check that this is adding up correctly. There we go. Okay, so next on the list was stopping service from Drentbourne to no wait, stopping service from Denston to Drentbourne. So we'll do it the other way around. We'll do it from Drentbourne to Denston, because I think Drentbourne's going to be our secondary hub outside of Bahecity for these services. But the other thing I wanted to add in first was another semi-fast service from Bahecity. And this one is going to run. Where are we? Right, there's Drentbourne. So we go this way, and then this way. So the last station before is Farborough. So let's do Bahecity Central to Drentbourne. And then from Drentbourne to Farborough. And then after Farborough, we're going to take this line here down, and we're going to stop at Puning Pool. And then Tuning Estelle. Like so. And now we can do some stoppers. Let's do 5 minutes there, 2, 5, 2, 2, 2, 30, and 30, 60. Alright, so the first stopper is going to be from Bahecity Central to Drentbourne Retire, I think. They're going to be 2C. So Bahecity is all the way over here. So Bahecity Senningbury. Then down here to Punley Market. And then Suthill. Great Pundinghattan. All the way down here to, let's just call you Tronway on Hill rather than on sea. And then the joke can be because it's flat land. So again, George, you might want to check that station code just to make sure it still makes sense. Fort Frundinghattan. And then Fort Rondworth. Okay. Brindingville. And then penultimate stations, Fronwood. and Drentborn. Okay, that's the first one. TOS to THL. Okay, good stuff. Let's do that, and then 30 there, 30 there, 60 there. Okay, so now you want to do a stopper from Drentborn to Denston. Alright, I think we'll do this one, and then we'll call it a stream, because we've been going for a long time now. So you want this to be an all-stopper, George? I'll just wait for him to get back to me on that one. Yeah, okay. So, Drentborn to Wadtown. Yeah, I didn't think that would work. Having two screens open is quite frustrating when you're trying to type stuff. I need to come up with a better way of doing this. Hufingford South. Then Nafing Hill West. Okay, then Fentown West. Kinfinpool Bridge. New Predwood. New Greffingberg Springs. And continue up. Lunningbury. What's that? Fronham. Okay, then Nardworth Falls. No. Okay, and then over here to Hinham. And then Denson Carnegie. Excuse me, got hiccups again. Okay. So I can't remember where the main stations are now. So I think Fentown West was one of them, and Wanborough was one of them. I think the rest can all be normal. 0.17. Okay, so that's a good benchmark for what we want to do. I'll add another stopper in at some point as well between Drentbourne and Tunway and Funston. But the viewer count is starting to drop significantly, so I think now is a good time to stop doing train services and start wrapping up the stream. So we're connecting the dots, essentially, is what we're doing right now. So here, for example, got the main express services from GSJ that terminate at Denston, plus the stopping and semi-fast services that will eventually do the same. And then you add in the express services that we've got and the semi-fast and the stopping services from Denston down towards Bahecity, and it's another way of getting between Guard City and Bahecity. So I think in total there'll be like 12 different ways that you can make the journey. The fastest ones, obviously, Transrapid is the fastest, High Speed is the second fastest, then the direct services from GSMA to Bahecity Central will be the third fastest, but all these other ways as well. In real life, there's lots of different ways of getting to places if you're willing to take diversions and have a slightly slower journey. And that's what I want to replicate in this network. It's not just a simple case of traveling from A to B, you can also take alternative routes if necessary. So something else I'm going to do off camera, well, actually no, I'm going to record it, but I'm not going to do it now, is rebuild Drentbourne so that it's ready to accept trains. We will use these outer tracks. They were originally for freight, but we will use those for platform usage as well, and I think there were some bay platforms that were going to be attached to the north and the south here. This line is the one that heads down towards Plenborough, isn't it? Which is also part, yeah, this is also part of the southeastern franchise, so we're going to add that in. Some services that go from Denston, for example, down to Plenborough, as well as maybe Tarnway and Funston down to Plenborough as well. Not every train has to go to Bahecity after all. So we're going to go away and do all of that over the next few weeks. Before we end, does anyone have any suggestions for what they want to see on stream next week? We can move away from this if you want. We can do something a little bit different, because one of the other things we can do with all these new routes now is go back to cross country and review that. Plus we can build new routes if that's what you want to see. I try and do a mix of everything in a stream, so I try and build a line, build some stations, do some signalling, rebuild something, and also plan stuff out as well. But yeah, what do you guys want to see next week? Let me take a quick drink as well. Okay, George wants to go back to cross country. Anyone else? Anyone at all? Even if you've not spoken yet this stream, that's absolutely fine. Go back to cross country and cross regional for a week and then come back. Tom's just watched the KSI Logan Paul press conference. Oh boy. Do I want to know? That's the question. Do I want to know? Frank, you still here? What kind of thing do you want to see on stream? Anyone? Anyone at all? Nope. Okay. Well, just because the stream ends doesn't mean you don't have to, or you can't suggest something. You can still suggest some stuff. KSI Camp talked. Paul Camp just shouted, really. Okay. Logan kept asking math questions for some reason. He was saying some weird stuff in the interview I watched the other day as well. I think his head's gone, in truth. T.N. Smiths doesn't mind either way. Alright, as I say, just because the stream ends doesn't mean you can doesn't mean you can't suggest something. You can still do so on Discord, that's what it's for. Or also on Reddit if you have any ideas that involve diagrams and stuff, there's a good place to suggest it as well. I kind of have my own ideas for what I want to do for the next few weeks, but I'm more interested in viewer ideas for the time being. Not because I'm lazy, before anyone suggests that. How have these stations got the same name, by the way? How's that happened? Oh, I need to go check that actually, because I think we've got some. Yeah, you're going to be Wadtown East. Oh, is that the only one where train stops? Okay. So you're Wadtown East. The other one's going to be Wadtown West. So again, George, very quickly, they might need to be distinguished. Pretty much what you'd expect. Yeah, I don't think I'll be watching the fight. Let's put it that way. I think it's all become a bit too much of a circus. It's basically boxing. They are exactly what you'd expect from boxers. They're more interested in talking about how they're going to kill each other than they are actually focusing on the sport. It's very much not to my interest, let's say. But yeah, I have my own ideas for what I want to do with the series, but I'll say a couple of them, but I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to sway people. If you're thinking that you want to see something else, I'd rather you said that and we did that for the time being, rather than you feel like we have to do what I want to do, because that's not necessarily the thing. Obviously, I want to enjoy the series, but I'm enjoying people suggesting ideas and then trying to find ways to make it work. As I said, that's kind of my job with XVI as well. Is someone will suggest something and then it's up to me to find a way to make it work. And I like doing that. It's a lot of fun. So one of the ideas I had was to get the metro running in Guard City. Oh, look at all that brown. It's ugly as hell. I think Shannon Briggs had 3 bullet points prepared, and one of those was "Let's go, champ." Oh my god. How that man is still relevant, I do not know. So yeah, one of the ideas was to get the Guard City Metro going again. I'm just following this line back into Guard City. Here we go. The other idea I had was for a new metro line. So over here at Great Winfield Airport, this is where the metro and overground kind of terminate, but I think a lot of them will be loop lines. So as you can see, that it connects both east and west. So this runs back down towards Guard City. There's also this branch here that stops at Flarfingford Docks and terminates there. Thank you, George. So yeah, there's quite a few metro connections going on here. This little bit here, I almost want to move Chewwood Station to this side and then get rid of this station here. It's really difficult to do because Little Proningwell is a place I want to connect to with the overground. So maybe if I bridged over the tracks here and then went underneath them again here and then just joined up over here. I don't know. He kept referencing Vidal's 3 professional fights. Yeah, I think all of their heads are gone. They keep bringing up stuff like that. So we'll look at doing that for the overground here. But it'll either be an overground line or it'll be a metro line. But you see how there's a straight line here. And it then goes through the center of the road here and all the way down to over here. We're going to build a new track that does that. So it won't be that long an extension. It'll basically run through here and then it'll probably terminate down here at Garning Head Cross. and then it'll have a couple of stations in the middle of the road, which will be connected to with buses running from like Wenfingfield, for example. Little ideas like that. Maybe at a push we can extend the metro down a little bit further to Faffing Way or across towards here to New Sinninghall. Just little ideas like that. And then maybe in the south of the city, getting the metro at Dinpool fixed as well. So we have this connection here, which is an absolute mess. Like Thetford, for example, then it comes out from underground at Thetford, and then it does this really weird S-curve kind of thing. And then goes to Dinpool. And then from Dinpool, we might even have Dinpool be the terminus actually, and then not have this section down here at all, down to Nudhall, and just have Nudhall be served by the overground. That could work as well, as an option. I liked Vidal's point that JJ's coach trained the guy who took Shannon's belt. That's a good one. Wasn't that the Transrapid alignment? It might have been. So where are we? That was over here again, wasn't it? So the Transrapid station was in this gap, wasn't it? And then... what was it? Do you know what? I can't remember off the top of my head. It might well have been. It might well have been. I know for a fact that the metro used to run this way and then curve this way to the terminus platforms, which are now used for the main line. So that might well be what it is. That might well be what it is. But yeah, I think we'll wrap things up here, guys. So, like I said, feel free to comment suggestions for future streams. You can do it in the comments section below this. If you're watching now, you can do it in the chat now as well, of course. It will still get picked up. Comment section down below if when this becomes a video, or you can post it on Reddit, or you can post it on the Discord. Link to everything is in the description. Discord will be the one that most likely gets picked up first, because I'm always on Discord. I'm always logged in, so I'll always be able to read that. Reddit as well, because it comes straight through to my phone, and all the other places. You know by now. I don't need to keep pushing it on you guys, because you pretty much know it all. Thanks to everyone who came in and chatted tonight. Thanks to George, to Frank, to Tuin, to Tom. I think that's everyone that chatted regularly by the looks of things. Yeah, I think so. Everyone else who came in as well and chatted. Don't feel like I've forgotten you guys, because believe me, I haven't. Hopefully next week we get a few more people in. Like I said at the start of the stream, it's nice to see the same people coming in each week, but I'd like to see some new faces. Particularly now I'm kind of pushing to promote myself a lot more. It would be nice to see some more results of that as well, but we'll keep that going, keep the momentum going. You never know. We're so close to the target of 1K, and I'm trying to come up with ideas on how to commemorate that. There's going to be some kind of celebration involved, maybe some giveaways as well, because it's a big deal for lots of different reasons, and I want you guys to be a part of it as much as I'm a part of it. So we'll come up with some ideas for that. Don't worry. The metro station is the old station. What, Transrapid? Do you mean this one here? I know the old metro station used to be up here, where the bus station now is. I remember replacing that because this bit didn't exist, like this whole loop. This one actually came in at this side. In fact, yeah, this probably was the old metro station from that line, but the original one was all the way up here. They were two separate stations. They didn't used to be joined. Anyway, I need to end the stream. Thanks, guys, for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so already. I can already see that we've got quite a few likes, which is awesome. Let's keep the momentum going on that as well. Drop comments, like I said, with all the suggestions. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, until next week, I will see you soon.